Hello everybody. Today we'll be learning about the use of rhythm in the novel Cold Mountain and how we as writers can use some of its tricks to improve our work. Cold Mountain, released in 1997, was the first book published by American author Charles Frazier. This historical fiction novel is set in North Carolina in 1864, just before the American Civil War concluded, and is divided between the perspectives of Ada Monroe and W.P. Inman, two lovers separated by Inman's conscription into the Confederate Army. Inman's desertion of the army and long journey home to Cold Mountain and to Ada is loosely inspired by Homer's The Odyssey and by the experiences of Frazier's great-great-uncle, who was also a deserter and lived near Cold Mountain. The novel's rich evocation of a historical period, regional culture, and landscape is heightened by the beauty Frazier's prose achieves through its use of rhythm, a technique which creates both contrast to the cruelties the characters face, as well as harmony with their intimate philosophical connections to the landscape. The term rhythm originates from a Greek word meaning measured motion, and as a literary device, it is used to shape the mood and emotional power of a text. Rhythm is defined as the pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables in a sentence, and deliberately organizing these syllables can create an effect which allows readers to experience these words like an arrangement of beats in music, and influences the meaning we absorb from them. By manipulating rhythm, an author can dictate how fast a reader moves through the text, or draw their focus to particular ideas in a subtle but impactful manner. The melodious beat and rhythm of Frazier's prose is created through his use of various techniques, including consonance, sentence length, sentence inversion, and polysyndeton. The first of these techniques, consonance, is employed by Frazier in order to mimic the poetic beauty of the natural landscapes he describes, and construct a text that is both visually and orally rich. This device entails the repetition of consonant sounds within several words in proximity to one another, generally at the middle or end of the word, and it is often found in poetry due to the fluid but powerful musical quality it can lend the spoken rendering of a text. Consonance subtly directs readers as to which syllables in a passage are stressed and which are unstressed by emphasizing the repeated sounds, and thus naturally shaping the rhythm in which the text is read. The use of consonants may also conjure a particular mood. For example, the repetition of S sounds can create a chilling, ominous effect. There are many examples in Cold Mountain of Frazier's mastery of consonants, one of which is found in a passage on page 59, where he describes Ada watching a sunrise over the mountains. The first grey light began gathering faintly, and then as the light built, the mountains began to form themselves, retaining the dark of night in their bulk. Virtually every word in the second sentence of this example contains a different combination of the letters F, L, G, and B, syllables that are also echoed in the following sentence. The consistent repetition of these sounds creates a steady beat which encourages this passage to flow naturally from the reader's tongue, similar to a series of notes reappearing throughout a piece of music. These particular syllables, combined in rhythmic repetition, have a soft, mystical quality which mirrors that of the majestic scene being described, and which stimulates the reader's senses of both vision and hearing to craft an image which targets all angles of perception. Evidently, the exploitation of consonants in order to modulate rhythm and tempo in Frazier's prose enhances the power and beauty of the images he describes. Another method employed in Cold Mountain which aids in the guiding of rhythm is sentence length and inversion. Manipulation of sentence length determines the pace with which a reader consumes a text. Multiple short sentences, for example, could create a staccato rhythm, while variation between longer and shorter sentences allows for a sense of rise and fall in a passage. Sentence structure can also be exploited through inversion of the typical arrangement of a sentence, in which a subject, adverb, and main verb generally appear in this order. Altering the placement of these components has multiple effects. it can be used to demand that a particular rhythm be adopted in the reading of the text, by diverting the reader away from the pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables which they would use by default. This deviation from the expected beat and rhythm of the text not only draws the reader's attention towards the misbehaving sentence itself, but also particular words arranged to have prominence within that sentence. A famous user of sentence inversion who you might recognize is Yoda of Star Wars. His roundabout manner of speaking demonstrates his wisdom and eccentricity, and gives his dialogue a rhythm entirely unique compared to other characters. But Yoda isn't alone. Frasier also frequently utilizes sentence inversion and sentence length, thus creating a song-like rhythm in his prose, and directing the reader as to where the beats and focus of each passage falls. For example, on page 241 of Cold Mountain, a stranger visiting a Native American village tells the villagers about his own peaceful home. Here is constant fighting, sickness, foes wherever you turn, and soon a stronger enemy than you have yet faced will come and take your country away from you and leave you exiles. Our minds are not filled with fear. We do not endlessly contend with each other. I come to invite you to live with us. Your place is ready. There is room for all of you. But if you are to come, everyone must first go into the townhouse and fast 7 days, and never leave during that time, and never raise the war cry. This passage shifts between longer, more complex sentences and briefer ones. For example, here there are 5 consecutive sentences of equally short length, 2 of which follow virtually identical sentence structures and thus create a steady beat through repetition. These brief sentences flow into a longer, more complex sentence, thus adding variation to the foundational rhythm and reinforcing the passage's gravity and musicality. Additionally, the excerpt begins with a sentence containing several nouns connected by commas, creating a regular, rhythmic beat. However, the next sentence disrupts this pattern. The adverb phrase, soon a stronger enemy than you have yet faced, is placed before the main verb phrase, will come. Even within this first clause, the adverb yet and adjective stronger also precede the subjects they modify. A more traditional and bland structure for this sentence may have been, and an enemy will come soon who is stronger than any you have faced yet. By inverting this structure, Frasier places emphasis on the words stronger and faced, and gives this passage a poetic, almost ritualistic rhythm which conveys the solemnity of the words. Therefore, manipulation of sentence length and structure can shape the rhythm of a text and imbue the words with a somber, even tempo appropriate to their gravity and significance. Another technique Frasier exercises in order to shape the spoken rhythm of Cold Mountain's prose is polysyndeton. This term describes a sentence in which multiple words or clauses have been connected through the repeated use of conjunctions, such as and or but. This indicates to the reader that each linked idea is connected and equal in meaning, and gives those ideas greater dramatic and poetic weight. This technique can also be implemented when the author wants to force the reader to slow down and absorb each idea. The repeated conjunction also provides a steady beat and a pleasing audible pattern to the sentence, and can create a tempo and sense of gathering momentum, which provides the text with greater emotional charge and a song-like rhythm. This technique may also be capitalized upon in order to communicate a character's emotions or create a specific mood. Frasier makes use of polysyndeton throughout Cold Mountain in order to enhance the syllabic melody of the text, even when describing moments of violence or action. This is demonstrated in an instance on page 71, where he describes Inman subduing a group of men who attacked him. The caps, though, were damp or otherwise faulty, and the pistol snapped on 4 chambers before he gave up and beat the man about the head with it and flung it onto the top of the building and walked away. Throughout the novel, Inman questions the possibility of loving a world where such ugliness and violence is rampant, and this philosophical, contemplative attitude is exemplified in the above excerpt. Although this passage is depicting a physical fight, it moves at a slow, smooth pace. The insertion of "and" on multiple occasions brings a measured, steady tempo to the excerpt, and equates each clause in their importance. Thus, the violence almost feels understated and ponderous rather than tense or exciting, and Inman beating a man with his pistol becomes of no greater interest than discovering the pistol was faulty. It is evident that Inman is not exhilarated by the power he holds, and the poetic cadence used to describe how he goes through these motions brings emotional complexity and rhythm to these moments in the novel. I will now examine an excerpt from my own writing to illustrate how writers like ourselves might adopt Fraser's techniques to control rhythm within our prose to what is hopefully as successful an effect. It was the afternoon of their mother's 40th birthday. The sun was low and red and dusty, like a rooster's wattle, and the grass of the pastures licked at the fading sky and rippled copper over the quiet dam and the watching windows of the house. Her mother's body lay long and pale in the half-light on her steamer chair, and below the hem of her bathing dress her calves glowed. Above the neckline her collarbones winged out wide. Her fingers moved absently, cast over the side of her chair. Among the dirt and the reeds Miriam's brothers and sisters gambolled, pinching and stinging one another with sticks. Their hair lay flat with sweat against their ears and foreheads. With a giggle broken by breathlessness, Becky tumbled into the water. The siblings all followed their younger sister, their laughter scattering magpie notes of hilarity into the sky. From the tail of their line Miriam melted into the dam, her arms moving to part the water like curtains. Her siblings' limbs wheeled and threw silver lines of water, beads of colour falling in a light pattern of drops. Slowly she sunk her head under the surface, and felt as the silence climbed up her ears and swallowed the afternoon into shadow. The water had the warmth of breath on the skin underneath her arms, but the slow waving of vague dark shapes expanded the banks of the dam in Miriam's mind, and multiplied its true size 100 times. By beginning the second sentence of this excerpt with "the sun was low and red and dusty," the multiple uses of "and" contribute to the slow, majestic, and thoughtful mood I was aiming for, and mimics the beauty and quietness of the scene being described. This sentence is also quite lengthy, and the repeated conjunctions give it a steady beat similar to that found in music. Consonance has also been used for multiple purposes. Here, the repetition of the soft, lulling L and H sounds convey the peace the narrator feels watching her mother, creates a soothing, lullaby-like rhythm, and enhances the quiet, reverent mood of this moment. In the second example, the repeated V, W, and TH sounds emulate the darkness of the water and the feeling of being submerged. This scene, involving a family enjoying an afternoon in the dam together, could be described as joyful or energetic. However, by using a lengthy sentence to slow the reader down, and employing consonants to simulate the muffling, isolating quality of the water, the narrator's inclination towards introspection and distance rather than joyful participation is shown through the language. Furthermore, these examples are separate instances of the structure of a sentence being repeated close together. In the first case, these shorter sentences disrupt the pre-existing pattern and establish a hymn-like rhythm of their own, strengthening the tone of reverence and loving attentiveness in this scene. The second instance creates a steady, rhythmic quality in the prose and makes the transition between phrases feel seamless and inevitable. Sentence inversion has also been employed in order to control rhythm. For example, in this sentence, the more expected structure may have placed the verb clause before the adverb clause. Her calves glowed below the hem of her bathing dress. Deliberately rearranging this sentence guides readers to pronounce it with a very particular rhythm and place greater stress on the word glowed, enhancing this piece of imagery and bringing variation and a sense of gravity into the melodious rhythm of the passage. The same technique is used by rearranging these clauses here, which may otherwise have read as Miriam's brothers and sisters gambolled among the dirt and the reeds. The new sentence has a sing-song rhythm, enhanced by use of polysyndeton to create a steady tempo, as is appropriate for the solemn and contemplative mood of this passage. In summary, Charles Frazier's Cold Mountain is a masterful novel which manipulates rhythm in order to create multiple effects, and we can learn much from his writing about the use of this technique. The devices of polysyndeton, sentence length, inversion of sentence structure, and consonants can be utilized in order to shape the rhythm of a piece of text by creating an oral pattern that complements the mood of the text, reflects the thoughts or feelings of the narrator, or enhances its imagery. To conclude, rhythm is evidently a powerful and versatile stylistic technique any writer can use to bring complexity and lyricism to their work. Good luck and happy writing!